Hello and welcome to the webinar. I'm very excited, privileged and honoured to be introducing our special guest, David Jenyns, all the way from Melbourne, Australia. And I believe it's about 9 o'clock in the evening over there, Dave.
Yes, spot on.
Very good, very good. Appreciate you staying up and helping with us on this webinar. So as you know, David's the founder of SYSTEMology, an Amazon #1 best-selling book, the leading expert in business systems, and David's helped thousands of business owners streamline their business, breaking free from the daily operations and scaling with confidence. His proven SYSTEMology framework is transforming businesses worldwide, making it easier than ever to implement effective systems. Today, Dave's going to share powerful insights on how you can systemize your business for greater freedom and efficiency. So, ladies and gentlemen, I give you the incredible genius that is Mr. David Jenyns. Over to you.
Wow, thank you for a magnificent introduction, Nick, and it's always a pleasure doing work together. I feel like you're waving the flag over in the UK for us. A lot of the presentations that I do tend to be into Australia and even in the US, but the UK time zone typically doesn't work well. So I don't do as much work in the UK as I would love to, because I know there are some really great business owners and entrepreneurs out there that need the work that I do. And I love talking about systems. I know that might sound a little bit weird, and it's probably not for the reason that many people think. It's not that I enjoy documenting process. I don't like writing out bullet points and those sorts of things, but rather I've really just fallen in love with the results that a systemized business brings. And I've had the good fortune of looking into hundreds, if not thousands, of businesses and seeing the difference between those that have systems and those that don't, and it's night and day. And I don't think I've ever had a discussion with a business owner where we haven't agreed that business systems are important. Uh, and I'd love to kind of get a little bit of a pulse on the room, just because I see we've got a great group here. If you would just want to type into the webinar chat for me, so I know I'm coming through loud and clear for you, but I'd love to know, why is it that you want to build a systemized business? What is it that you believe a systemized business will do for you? Start to type that into the chat and we'll read out a few of them. Just as you're typing in that, I'll check with Nick. I don't know what you hear from your clients, Nick, and if there are some common themes and reasons people like to systemize.
Yeah, I think I don't necessarily always get the impression that people truly understand what the real major benefits of systemization can be for a business owner, for in terms of freedom, lack of stress, improved efficiencies, therefore profits. I just think even though people read systemology, they listen to systemology, I think it's the implementation that people just sort of don't get round to doing, whether it's because they don't understand that it's it's going to be a systems champion or someone you've already got in your business that's going to put this stuff into place. But I think when the penny drops, when people do see your approach, that's all very well and good, but it's the action you take off the back of it that's going to see the results. And I think that's probably the bit that's lacking, because everyone's so busy every day, every week, just trying to make sure that they're keeping everything, where it needs to be.
Yeah.
But I think
I
today
just got a little
will help
I
with
got a
it.
little update from some of the participants. They mentioned that the chat was disabled, and
Yeah, I was just about to say that.
it's probably easiest to just, if everybody wants to head into the Q&A section, which is enabled, and you'll just be able to type in your answers in there, and we can uh, just attend to them, and I can work my way through from there. But I can see Rob mentioned that it creates efficiency and reduces stress. Graham mentions that it improves resilience and productivity. And someone mentioned that uh, systems mean freedom. Looks like the webinar chat might be active again there. Kim mentioned that systems ensure the level of quality throughout the business. So a lot of these are quite common reasons for business owners to want to systemize to get consistent results. Stu mentions about improving efficiency and ultimately helping to maximize sales, to make sessions more organized and so safer, creating discipline. Great. I can see the whole chat coming to life now. We've got clarity, and we've got Ben mentioning that they'd love to use systems to allow them to grow. Systems tick all of these boxes that we're talking about. And another common one I see when someone might be thinking about exiting their business is really adding value. Systems add value to businesses because they just they deliver better results for everybody. They deliver better results for clients, for staff, for suppliers, for the business owner, for the bottom line. A systemized business really is just about capturing what currently works and making it repeatable. And that's probably the big thing here is a lot of small business is not very repeatable, or it's very key person dependent. And that's one of the big problems that we need to solve. And something that I want to address today, I want to give you some ideas on how you can apply some of this thinking to your own business. So I'm just going to jump over to my slides for a moment here, and we'll walk through what I've got here. We're going to be covering 8 proven processes. So I want to give you some of those processes that you can focus on that'll deliver some of those outcomes that you're looking for. And I'll touch on 3 key areas to kind of help you move through this. The whole idea is, though, there has never been a better time to systemize your business than right now. And a lot of the changes that we're seeing with the advancements in AI and the way that business is evolving, you want to stay ahead of this curve. You want to start to systemize your business now, because the systems and the processes that you document today will become the programming of the machines in the future. And AI will help you achieve things faster, cheaper, and better. But you need to get very clear on what your core processes are, what systems drive your business and get the results for clients, and what is your best practice. So that's a big part of what I want to dive in today. Just so I've got your full attention, make sure that you put your phone on mute and close down any extra windows. Just focus in on this. We've got 60 minutes together. I'm going to make sure that it's well worth your while. I'm going to give you some really golden ideas that you can apply to your business. And towards the end, we've got a special thing that we've put together for Nick's group that'll help you take this a little bit further should you want to kind of take that next step. So Nick was kind and gave me a little bit of an intro, and I'm going to save on some time because we do have that limited time today. I'm going to suggest, and I'll show you where you can grab a copy at the end, but you get a copy of my book. It tells my story in there, so I don't have to go through it. The short version is I'm on a mission to free all business owners worldwide from the day-to-day operations of running their business. I want to help you build the business of your dreams, because the reality is a lot of business owners, they get into business looking for freedom, but then they find that they've got anything but freedom. They're chained to the business. They don't have the real choice to step out. Like, I want you to have the choice to work in it, on it, out of it, however you want. Whereas a lot of business owners, they have to work in it, because if they're not in it and they're not moving it forward, it really grinds to a halt. So the book will tell you a little bit more about my story. And I don't know if I'm a systems, like if I'm born with it in my DNA, a systems guy or not, but maybe it has come from my dad. My dad actually was a systems engineer, and this will probably give you a little bit of insight into the way that I think. My dad created, this is the first ever system that I remember seeing, and he created this system for my brother and I. And you'll see my name in the top right hand corner there, David, and my brother Chris. The year is 1988, and this is the sheet. This was a 3-page document my dad put together where we could earn points throughout the week for doing different activities. We could make sure that our clothes were put away or make our bed, and we could make sure that we've put the towels on the, not leave any towels in the hallway or hang the towels. And throughout the week, we'd note it down on the sheet. And then at the end of the week, Dad would tally up all of the scores, and using a scoring legend that would determine how much pocket money that we would get. And I loved the sheet. I was great at the sheet. I maximized it. I played the sheet so well that Dad had to change the scoring legend because he said I was bleeding him dry. And if he had to keep paying out, back in the day, it was like $3 for the week if I hit all of my numbers. And if I got above 300 points for 5 weeks in a row, I got an extra $7 payout. So I maximized it. Now, the other person on the sheet here, my brother Chris, he didn't like the sheet. He didn't want to participate. He didn't get any pocket money and he avoided it at all costs. He didn't like what my dad was doing here. And looking back now, I feel like that taught me a really valuable lesson that there are two types of people in this world. There are people who are going to follow systems and there are those that won't. Now, in your family, you can't really choose who your family members are. But in business, you can choose who your staff are. And a lot of people have team members that come on board without giving much thought to, are they the right cultural fit? Are they systems people? If we know that systems driven businesses deliver better outcomes, then why not hire systems driven people that will follow process and make it easier? And that goes double if you're a business owner who doesn't see themselves as a systems person, which is actually very common. A lot of business owners, they are creative people, they're visionaries, they get in there and just do the work. And they don't have time to document process and they don't necessarily always enjoy it. But what you've got to realize is you don't have to love systems and processes to own a systems driven business. You just need to lead this. You need to get the right people on board. You need to empower the right team members. You need to celebrate systems success. You need to hire systems driven people. And if you do that, I guarantee it is going to make your business life infinitely easier. So that's a little bit about where my influences came from. My dad had a big part in that. And now it's really shaped the way that I look at business and think about business. And I thought, right, what are three key things that I can give you today? Hopefully, some insights that might get you to think about systemization in a different way. And I'm going to touch on, firstly, the 8 proven systems and those processes. How do you uncover them? And how do you go to work on them and capture them because they're critical for every business? Then we'll talk a little bit about how to extract and organize your knowledge and how we can leverage AI. I already touched on it right at the start. We're seeing a lot of changes with AI that's making this easier than ever to systemize, whereas previously it had been quite challenging. We can now leverage tools like ChatGPT and get great first draft of processes in a matter of seconds, which I'll show you. And then lastly, we'll talk about how to skyrocket adoption, because that's like a common hurdle for some people is getting their team on board. And just because you have a process doesn't mean the team's going to follow it. So I want to give you some real world examples and show you how to get that buy-in to make sure that this is going to work for you, because we know and we all agree. I mean, I'm looking in the chat here and the Q&A, we all agree systems are important. So now we have to figure out how we're going to master this. So we'll start off by thinking about the 8 proven processes. And to give you a little bit of context, when I first started on this mission of SYSTEMology, I had this dream to build a machine where I could tip unsystemized businesses in one end and I would have systemized businesses pop out the other end. Like that was the dream of SYSTEMology. I thought, oh, I'd love to create this machine, and it's part of my mission to free all business owners worldwide from the day-to-day operations. Over the years, though, I've had some big breakthroughs, and I've realized that you don't want me to have a machine that systemizes your business. You want the machine to live inside your business. You want a self-systemizing business, because something that systemizes itself means that it will create the right culture and continue to grow. And when you think of about McDonald's. McDonald's has built a self-systemizing machine, and it just continues to systemize year after year and evolve with change. But just so I get a little bit of an idea, when I say the term self-systemizing business, can you type into the chat, or you can do it in the Q&A if we're still having trouble with the chat, but just type into the chat what a self-systemizing business means to you. When you hear that term, what does a self-systemizing business mean? Just as those are coming in, I don't know, Nick, if you have any thoughts that come straight to mind. Oh, you're just on mute.
Yeah, I'm never muted. Yeah, I think there may be a new kind of phrase for a lot of people, self-systemizing. I'm sure you're going to clarify it, but people maybe try their own way, but they don't have a set kind of system for systemizing and don't know what that is or where to start. So I think I think today is going to help with the definition and understanding.
Yeah. Some of the ones that have come in, we can see here, Kate mentioned it'll give you freedom. Karen mentions that it'll create structure and ease. Carl mentions that it's a business that operates without him in it. It will have efficiency and progress, says Jake. Stu mentions that it's a self-sufficient business. All of these are right on point. Repeatable process, says Adam. That you aren't relying on any one person. The person can be replaced with great systems. That's what George mentions. Rob mentions about routine. Grace touches on freedom, autonomy, self-sufficient. Yes, so all of these are like elements of a self-systemizing business. It's about building the culture so that the team actually will systemize as part of their normal way of doing things. And they've got a this is how we do things mentality. So my next question for you is, when you think about a self-systemizing machine and even just building systems in your business, the next thing I want you to type into the chat is, what do you feel is getting in your way? What is stopping you from building a self-systemizing business? So Chris mentions me. Yes, oftentimes the business owner, 100%. It's what's between the two ears. Lucy mentions time management. Oh, good. Time. Time's a big one. Sharon, Kim, Rob, they're all mentioning time. Kate mentioned time and money. Firefighting. Yes, you got so many different things. Technical ability and mindset. Corporate culture, so things being stuck in a certain way, habits, but we've always done it this way. Unclear goals and visions. Yeah, like there are plenty of things that can get in the way of building a self-systemizing business. Now, again, I just keep coming back to the idea that we all know and agree that a systemized business runs more efficiently and it delivers better outcomes. So trying to get to the heart of, well, what does it take to create a self-systemizing business? What gets in the way? What is it that we need to overcome? And I've obviously done a lot of thinking about this, and quite a few of the things with regards to time and don't know where to start, technical ability. Generally, I can clump them into three main areas. If the goal is to build a self-systemizing business, generally we can lump a lot of the challenges that get in the way into three areas. It's the untested ideas, which sometimes if you're not clear on the process, if you don't know where to start, if you're kind of wasting time because you're trying to figure things out and there's a lot of trial and error. Another thing that holds people back, it didn't actually come up that much in the chat there, but around random apps and the technical side of things. I think yeah, there you go. Actually, Carl mentioned technical ability. Some people get stuck trying to overcomplicate things. And then the last one, which touches on what Stu was saying around we've always done it this way, is the unskilled operators and not having team buy-in and not getting the team fully clear on what we're doing and having a process. So as I think about what gets in the way of getting to a self-systemizing business, then I go, well, what is it that would create the breakthrough if we had clear process, if we had simple tech, if we had a trusted team that can follow the process and we set the appropriate standards and we've got a clear and transparent culture inside our business? Like, if we're able to do that, then we're able to build a self-systemizing business. So I'll jump back to the slides just here. And that then kind of leads into the most important question. If we know we need to get a clear process and the simple tech and the trusted team, it still comes back to, and where do we start? What are those first few systems? And I talked about the 8 proven processes. I've spent an incredible amount of time thinking about this, and there's lots of different ways and answers to the question, where do you start? Some people say, start with the smallest tasks, start with the most time consuming, start with trying to buy back your time. And all of these can work. But if I was advising a friend and I had to put a stake in the ground on where you should get started, I'm going to suggest that you start by systemizing how the business makes money. And you think about, what is the primary client that you're serving? What is the primary product or service? And then what are the critical systems in delivering that? Like, how do we capture someone's attention? How do we handle the inquiry? How do we sell them, onboard them, deliver, and get them to come back? Because if the business can make money, then we can solve just about any other challenge in business. And more important than that is, we need to show the business owner that this is possible. A lot of business owners don't have the experience of the business making money without them involved. Most of them, they're either the technician that knows how to do the thing, or maybe they're the great salesperson, which means they're forever involved in it. And they haven't had the experience of actually building a business that can generate profit without them. So by starting on what we call the critical client flow, for those of you who have read the book, we identify the primary client that we're looking to serve, the dream client who's going to pay our advertised prices and refer friends and family, is a pleasure to deal with, and we want lots more of them. And then we think about, well, what is the primary product or service, the first thing that we sell to them when they first get introduced into your world? And then we map this linear journey from grabbing attention to handling that inquiry, sales, money, onboarding, delivery, and repeat. And it's mapping this. Now, I know many of you work with Nick, so Nick can help you through this process and brainstorming out what these are. I'm going to serve it up on a silver platter, because the 8 proven processes are actually hidden in plain sight in the critical client flow. Because every business needs to generate leads. And if we think about from top to bottom just here, these 7 systems here are just these systems here. And you don't need to buy some whiz-bang system or solution from another guru. The proven processes are the processes that already work inside your business. Your business is already kind of working. You've already got clients, you've already got a little bit of traction. So just making what you're currently doing repeatable, that's not the be all and end all. You will look to optimize and improve them later, but just capture what you're doing and making that repeatable can get you tremendous wins. So you need a lead generation system. You need an inquiry system, a system that handles those incoming inquiries. You need a system for the way that you sell. You need a system for the way that you issue out invoices or get paid. You need a system for how you onboard the client into your world, getting them into your CRM, collecting whatever sort of data you need from them, making sure that they're all set up correctly and in your calendar booking systems and whatever you need as part of that onboarding. You need a delivery system. That's a system that outlines how you actually do the work. And then you need some sort of system where you can deliver the completed work and win more repeated work, or get that person to refer. These are those 7 proven processes. Just capture what you're currently doing and you'll get tremendous wins. Most small business struggles with repeatability, and you're often very key person dependent. Maybe it's you as the business owner, maybe you've got a couple of other team members that, if Sally doesn't come in on Wednesdays, then invoices don't go out, which is not a great place to be. You want to capture these processes so that you're key person independent. And the best processes you've got are the ones that are already working. Figure out who already answers the phone well, who already sells well, who already onboards, and just capture that. And I'm telling you now, you'll get tremendous wins. Now, for the astute listeners, I don't know if anybody's typed it into the chat, but they might be wondering where the 8th system is, because I did say 8 proven processes, and I've only shared 7 here. The last one, and Nick actually mentioned it a little bit earlier for someone who caught it, he mentioned the system for systems. That's the 8th process, and I'll share with you at the end how you can get a copy of our updated system for creating systems, because we've just recently reworked it to leverage off using ChatGPT for this. But the idea of the system for creating systems is, how do you document process? Where does that get saved? How do you then announce it to the team? Like, what is that process? I know it's a little bit meta, the system for systems, but it's a critical system because it's essential for this self-systemizing business. The business needs to know how to systemize itself. And that's what the 8th process does. Now, sometimes it's just easier to see an example and how this comes together. So I've dotted a few case studies as we go through. This one's with Renee Kelly. She runs a company called Lime Therapy, and they're an occupational therapist in Mildura, which is just here in Australia. And it's her and her husband, Matt. That's the photo just there. This is their therapy business just here. They do physio and speech therapy and hand therapy and a whole bunch more. Now, she'd read the E-Myth, so she was already a little bit sold on systems. And then she read SYSTEMology, and she felt like that was the missing piece, because E-Myth helped to build the why. And before, I know everybody jumped in at the start and said their why they want to systemize. Before Michael Gerber, people used to struggle with that. But now everybody, we all agree systems are important. The next bit is the how. And that's really where I feel SYSTEMology stepped in, because when I was trying to systemize my business, I felt like I didn't have something that I could follow. And I wrote the book that I wish I had. And it starts with the critical client flow. You map out those core processes, and this is the most important thing to get right, because you want to ensure that you're working on the highest value systems. It's like applying the 80-20 to your business. What is the 20% of the systems that deliver 80% of the result? This is how your business makes money. Let's focus in on this. Now, Renee started off with this, started recording all of the different little videos, and they used GoPro, and they used the phone camera, and they used Loom, and depending on what it was, if it was on the screen or actually in the practice, they would record these little videos and store it in their System Hub account. Now, this was before ChatGPT, so she had Caleb, one of her team members, she nominated him as the systems champion, and he then watched the videos and then created the little checklists from it. It took him about 3 months of real dedicated focus, working through that critical client flow and documenting. And I'll show you in the next section how to make the documenting really easy. And then they got some extraordinary results, even within a very short space in time. Firstly, the culture started to change in the business. And that was probably one of the significant wins that Renee wasn't really expecting. A lot of the team members embraced this change, And she started to notice a reduction in time for certain administrative tasks. And one of the examples she gave me, I've got a case study I can share with you where she tells this story, but it was around uh, doing wages, and it was every time it rolled around, every couple of weeks, and it took a huge amount of time to do the calculation because she was working with different contractors and employees, and they basically reshaped the way that their wage system worked. First, capturing what they were currently doing, which then enabled some of the processes to get done by less skilled team members, which kind of moved things along and got it all prepped up. Then for the bookkeeper to step in and do the final couple of steps. But then after that, they actually re engineered the whole process, and she saved hours and hours. Like it was a full day's worth of work for a team member. And then you multiply that out across an organization, or across a year rather, and there was a significant time saving. And that was just one little fix, one system that she put in. But start to think about that in all areas of the business: marketing, sales, operations, finance, HR, every little system, saving a little bit of time. And then this benefit compounds, and she saw significant improvement to her financial metrics, profit margins and revenues started to grow. It's a really great story. And I'll make sure I'll share some of the resources with Nick. Actually, I might even be able to post this one in the chat. I'll see if this comes through for everyone just here. Actually, it looks like, yeah, here we go. Great. So you can actually see her case study there. There's another one. I actually interviewed her systems champion, Caleb, and you can see that inside that same area. But just hearing someone else do it sometimes is enough to go, hey, if Renee can do it, I can do it too. And it's just about following a process. I don't think I've said anything yet that you wouldn't be able to do. I think the next one, really, where once you identify what you're going to document first, the next question is, well, how do I document? How do I make this easy? How can I leverage AI? And I've got a few different tools. An example, and I can show you this. I suppose the question to ask is, do you want to know the easy way to do this, or do you want to do it the hard way? I don't know, just type into the chat for me if you have a preference on doing your systems and processes, if you want to do it the easy way, or do you want to do the hard way? Okay, Rob says easy, Eric's easy, Karen's easy, Andrea's easy, Sharon, the right way, always the easy way. Correct. You're in the right place then, because I want to show you the easy way. I spent probably the last 7 years trying to figure this out, and I wanted to try and keep this as simple as possible. I think for you to understand how I got to this, I want you to understand the hard way first, so you understand how incredible the time is that we live right now, and how AI is just turning this whole idea of business systemization on its head. What you're looking at right now is the Great Wall of Systems. This is how we used to do things. We would list out all of the systems on A4 bits of paper, and we would stick them to the wall to remind our staff to follow process. That's back in the day how we got started. And you can imagine how effective that was. Not very effective. Always got out of date. People couldn't find things, and it was lame. Then we kind of evolved. We moved into Dropbox. That was the next step. And then I started to try and organize things into different departments. In the end, it just became a red hot mess because I had so many different versions, different systems organized different ways. Some things were formatted some ways, and it was very hard to find what I was looking for. And I suppose it was better than stuck to the wall, because at least then it could be a bit more easily updated, but it really wasn't that functional. Then a good number of years ago, I thought, no, there's got to be a better way. And I developed a platform called System Hub to make this whole process a little bit easier. And the bit I want to show you here is just how easy it's gotten. So one of the ideas is, if in that first step I said, well, here are the 8 systems that you want to document inside your business, The next step is I say, well, record someone doing that task, no matter how rough around the edges it is, just get it recorded and talk through the task being done. It doesn't have to be perfect. The first time you do it is the worst version, and you can iterate and get better from there. Just so I know, are there people already in the group that are recording tasks getting done? And if you're already doing that, what tools are you using to do that? Just type that into the chat for me. So Asana is the project management platform. So that's a great place for delegating tasks. Kate, there we go. And Duncan, perfect. Loom. I'm so glad that you mentioned Loom. I could not live without Loom these days. Some sort of screen recording. Scribe is another one. There are so many different tools. Just find one that you're comfortable with. The great thing about Loom these days is it'll automatically transcribe it for you. So I'm going to just show you here. And I'll just scroll down. This is the transcription from a video here. So this video, this just, you can see on my screen here, this is Wistia. It's just a video hosting service that we use, but one of the options it has is to also transcribe. I'm going to copy this transcription. So imagine this, you've identified your 8 processes, you figure out who on the team does the task really well, you meet with them, or you get them to record them doing the task, you get it transcribed. Many of you mentioned Loom. Loom will automatically transcribe things as well. Then you head over to ChatGPT. Now, I've programmed up a custom GPT. I don't know. Actually, can someone type into the chat if they've done any custom GPT work just yet? Right, custom GPT, just so I know if anybody's up to this level yet. Basically, you can create instances of ChatGPT trained on your specific data to do certain functions. So it's good. I can see Kim and Kate and Grace. So a few people are using custom GPT. So this is just one we've created called Process Pal. I'll tell you how you can grab a link to it at the end of today's presentation. But basically, I click a button and it says, please ask me to upload the transcript for you to create a process. I'm just going to cut and paste that transcript in here. And then we just watch ChatGPT and this custom GPT do its magic. So it now is writing a title for me. It's written the overview, talks about what the trigger is. It identifies the key steps, and it's just chugging away. Now I'm going to go over to System Hub here, and I'm going to create a new system. I'll just copy and paste in the name here. And then we'll just come back here, and I'll just copy all of this info here. This is just, it's got completion criteria. It's got all of the steps. I'm just going to paste that in here. And there's one other thing I might grab from here. It's got a nice little overview. And I'm just alternating in here to System Hub. So you can see I've got the title. I'm going to set this to orange because it's currently under construction. It's got an overview, the trigger, and then it moves into the key steps. I'm going to also copy a link to this video. I'm going to post this in here. And I'm going to hit save and close. I have just created a fantastic first draft of a system, and I did it in the blink of an eye. I had the video recorded, and now think about it this way. Systems and processes are really just about capturing best practice and making it repeatable. It's a starting point for team members and a way of saying this is how we do things here. And you build up a collection of this knowledge. And then the trick is to make sure that you're never more than one click away from a process. So when you are scheduling a call with one of your tradespeople or one of your team members, pop a link in the calendar to the system or the process. If you're using Asana and you're assigning tasks out to team members, link to the process. If you're out in the field and you've got physical equipment and things that need to be set up a certain way, create a QR code, stick it to the machine, and then you scan that QR code and it jumps right to the process. You want to make sure you're never more than one click away. And the reason that we do that is so that we can remove that one line that we hear all too often from our team when they haven't done things a certain way, or they haven't done things the way that you would like it done, which is, oh, I didn't know. I didn't know how to do that. I wasn't taught that. I didn't know that was the step. I want to completely remove that as even a possibility or an argument or a reason for not doing something to a certain standard, because you're never more than one click away. And my expectation is that you're going to follow the process that clearly defines how this thing is being done. And if ever there's a problem, I'm going to first blame the system. Was it that a step was missed in the system, or something in the system broke down? Great. Well, let's fix the system. Or was it that the team member didn't follow the system? Okay, well, that's a different problem. And over time, we just build up this business brain, this knowledge. Think about all of that knowledge that's tracked in your head and some of the key team members. What would happen if one of your key team members walked out the door tomorrow because they got a better job offer, or someone in their family got really sick and they needed time off, or they got hit by a bus? Who knows? Like, you never know what's going to happen. So while team members are really important, if I was to say what the most important asset in business is, it's the way that you do things. It's your systems, because you don't own the team member. If the team member walks out the door, they're walking out with all of that knowledge. The only thing that you own, the only asset you actually have, is this collection of business knowledge. That's why we have to extract it, organize it, document it, and make it accessible. There is no way to build the business of your dreams, some profitable enterprise that works without you, without process. So at some point, you are going to need to figure this out. And that doesn't necessarily mean it has to be you. You need to lead this initiative, but then you need to empower your team to do it. I love these examples. I've got one here from Gary McMahon, who runs a company called Ecosystem Solutions. He saw this, got it straight away. He's a bushfire management company guy. Like, he runs a company that does the bushfire management. And in the early days, Gary's problem wasn't finding work. He had more work than he could handle. People were lining up to do business. The issue with Gary was actually getting it done. He had way too much, and he was inconsistent, and he was dropping the ball. Then he ended up finding SYSTEMology and System Hub. He started on this journey that we're talking about today. He didn't have some of the tools I've just shown you with regards to the AI side of things. He got one of his office girls to go through a program called the Simple Systems Blueprint, which I'll talk about in a moment, and then got her to implement. The team started to grow. He got more people in the office. Gary saw his gross revenue over the course of 12 months went up by 200%, and his net profit improved from 8% to 30%. And the best bit, Gary took the first holiday that he had taken in 5 years. And it gets even better. I've got this interview with Gary, and Gary said, "SYSTEMology saved my marriage," because he was spending so much time in the business, burning the candle at both ends, and it was causing damage to his family life. Am I saying that SYSTEMology and System Hub can save your marriage? Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Because business owners need to build a self-systemizing machine that runs itself. So in the tail end, the last point that I wanted to cover off here was around skyrocketing adoption, because there are a few people, actually I can spot a couple of questions coming in. Grace, hold your question towards the end. And if anyone else has any questions, we'll have a little bit of time for Q&A at the end. So just start to get those handy and we'll be able to work through those. The last bit around skyrocketing adoption, which the big thing here is just having your systems and processes documented is not enough. You also have to get the team to follow them. And a lot of that has to do with changing the culture inside your organization. You want an accountable, transparent organization. You want to make sure that expectations are clear, team members know what their roles are and what tasks they need to be completing and to what standard. And this takes time, like depending on where you're at. I mean, you might have that have been with you for years that are stuck in their ways and they're used to doing things a certain way. And why do we need to change? And you might even have some team members that they don't like the idea of you shining a light on the work that they're doing. They're quite happy to have a little black box where you don't really know exactly what they're doing or how long certain tasks take, because that then creates job security for them, because you can't really get rid of them because you don't really know what they're doing. And they kind of like that. Some people have those team members as well. The thing is, you can't grow and scale an organization like that because it's key person dependent. Sometimes the biggest problem is that the business owner is that key person of dependence. Other times, there might be other team members that the business is dependent on. It really doesn't matter who it's dependent on. It's just not helpful for the business to have key person dependency. Now, the big secret for this, like having done this now for a good number of years, if you took one thing away from this presentation, and you've probably already taken a few things away, but if I was just to leave you with one thing, it's this idea of what I consider the most important role that you can put into place that will increase the chance and likelihood of your success 3 or 4-fold. Like, it's that important because the business owner is busy. The secret is to have what I call a systems champion. Looking at all of the most successful businesses that I've worked with, all of them have systems champions. That is someone on the team who has been nominated for this particular role, that it's their responsibility to keep driving things forward. The reality is, most business owners are the worst people on the team to be doing the documentation. And they might see it as important, but systems are never urgent. In the world of the busy business owner, they're working on important and urgent, which means systems forever stays on the to-do list. What you need to do is empower a team member who, rain, hail, or shine, is going to keep moving this forward. And it might be a primary role, or maybe it's a role, a split role. Maybe it's your administrative team member or on staff and they've got a little bit of extra capacity. They need to have capacity. They need to be naturally organized. And if I look at the makeup of a lot of the systems champions and what are the common elements, I think the most successful systems champions I've seen are usually, they're like junior apprentices. Oftentimes they're trained in how to do the technical work. So they might be the junior accountant, the junior lawyer, the junior landscape gardener who wants to get into the business, and you take them on board and you have them shadow you and you give them a copy of SYSTEMology. You walk them through and say, all right, this is your role. I'm going to declare this to the team. I'm going to let them know that we're giving this time, money, and resources because this is important. And then the systems champion just chugs away at it. And if you get this right, they can be the most important person on your staff and grow into an incredible role. It's their job to customize the system for creating systems. They help to document the process. They meet with knowledgeable team members. They build the culture. They mention it on team meetings. They keep it front and center. They celebrate wins. They build up positive habits. They build up the evidence inside your organization that you have a systems-driven business because you're too busy to do it. And it's their responsibility. They'll make sure that you keep getting closer. A great example of this was a guy called Ryan Stannard. He runs a building company out of Adelaide. He's a high school dropout, and he's built a $15 million home residential building company. And Ryan says if he can do it, anybody can do it. You've just got to stick with it long enough, and you've got to have the focus. Now, Ryan ended up identifying his systems champion as Erin, who happened to be his daughter. Now, his daughter ended up meeting with each of the key leadership team members, identifying the top handful of systems that were important in their department, recorded and worked with them as they were doing the task, documented it, and then saved it into System Hub. She's been doing this now over the past couple of years, and Ryan's business has skyrocketed. And one of the key things he cites is this initiative around process, because it's enabled them to continually delegate down tasks to less skilled, oftentimes lower cost team members, which frees up their highest value team members to work on the highest value tasks. And certain things that need to happen in the business to a certain standard just happen consistently to an appropriate standard, like clockwork. Ryan, just Christmas passed, so I know we're coming up to Christmas, but last year, Ryan took 7 weeks off over Christmas. He ended up getting a caravan and started touring around Australia, which in the building industry, for many, is unheard of, because if you're not building, you're not making money. And his business continued to grow because of the systems and the processes. And Erin is now being groomed to be his general manager. He said Erin, at 21, is the most knowledgeable team member on staff because she has understanding into each department across the entire organization. Most team members just know their little bit, where she has great visibility. So if you pick your systems champion correctly, you can actually get someone who ultimately might end up running your business one day. So we covered quite a bit there, and I know there's probably a few questions that you might have. We talked about the 8 proven processes, and everybody can identify and go through that exercise. In a moment, I'll give you a tool that can really help you with that. We then talked about extracting that IP, just recording it being done, using AI, storing it into a central location, and we talked about getting a systems champion. Now, clearly, in 60 minutes, I'm not going to be able to cover everything. I just wanted to hopefully open your eyes to what's possible. Nick has been over in the UK banging on about the SYSTEMology drum for years now. And we talk, and it's like, we both go, why is it that some business owners get it and some don't? Like, this is something that every business owner needs to do. You have to create systems. There is no way around this. So we were kind of thinking about, well, what can we do to make this easy to kind of get you started? We know that we want to build a self-systemizing business. We know what's getting in the way, and we want a clear process, simple tech, and trusted team. I've identified a couple of tools that are kind of being built out as part of the SYSTEMology toolkit that help you to achieve each one of these outcomes. And the first, most important one is the critical client flow. You need to get clear on what those 8 core processes are. You need to be able to articulate it and present it to the team.